Like and subscribe and click the bell icon to get new video updates.
Putin may be a war criminal, but huge hurdles confront any prosecution. April 5, 2022, 6:39 p.m. Save login, register or subscribe to save articles for later. Share normal text size, larger text size, very large text size. The war in Ukraine took a grim turn in recent days when evidence emerged that Russian troops had committed atrocities against civilians in occupied areas. Ukrainian forces who retook the town of Bucha, north of Kyiv, after the Russians pulled back, say they found the bodies of civilians who appeared to have been executed. The town's mayor said more than 270 residents had been killed and buried in mass graves. Russia has denied the allegations, claiming they are another staged performance by the Kyiv regime for the Western media, but satellite imagery appears to back the claims. It's worth stating the obvious here: we are appalled and sickened by these revelations, and for such barbarism to occur in Europe in 2022 is shocking. These scenes, as well as the utter devastation of cities such as Mariupol, show that Russia, as feared, is prepared to do anything to achieve its ends. Its goals are not to liberate Ukraine from Nazis, as President Vladimir Putin has routinely claimed, but to subjugate its people entirely, even at the cost of killing civilians and rendering their towns and cities uninhabitable. The lies Kremlin uses to try to weasel out of accountability, that the images and videos of corpses were fakes, and not a single local resident has suffered from any violent action, are simply an insult. The discovery of mass killings of civilians raises grave concerns for those living in other Russian-held areas, particularly the town of Borodyanka. Ukraine's Prosecutor General, Irina Venediktova, said that town was likely to have suffered even worse than Bucha under occupation. Residents of cities such as Odessa and Mariupol, who have yet to fall into Russian hands, must wonder, as they hide in their basements, what treatment lies in wait for them if the Russians finally move in. The evidence that has emerged from towns near Kyiv might provoke further escalations from Europe and the United States, both in terms of sanctions and weapons supply. The atrocities uncovered appear to have embarrassed Russia's Chinese allies and will further entrench Russia as a pariah state. Germany, which has been reluctant to impose more severe sanctions on Mr. Putin's administration because of its dependence on Russian natural gas, may now have its hand forced. The world has rightfully condemned Russia. What to make, though, of the calls from Western leaders, including US President Joe Biden, to prosecute Vladimir Putin as a war criminal, possibly at the International Criminal Court or some kind of one-off tribunal, because, as Mr. Biden says, he should be held accountable. Putting Mr. Putin on trial would be no easy feat. The accused cannot be tried in absentia, and he would be unlikely to front up to the court in person. Secondly, the burden of evidence is such that it could be difficult to prove the chain of command from battlefield atrocities led to Mr. Putin. Neither Russia nor the United States recognize the jurisdiction of the court, and any attempt in the United Nations to convene a special court would be subject to Russian veto. Some would also point out that the international condemnation of what we see in Ukraine has vastly outweighed official responses to actions by Western ally, Saudi Arabia, in the hidden war in Yemen, or by Western forces themselves in Afghanistan. Australia has hardly rushed to prosecute the evidence of war crimes against some Australian soldiers there, leaving it instead to a media organisation to allege unlawful killings in a series of articles, then defend those allegations in the defamation court. Despite all that, we should not give up on the notion that justice should be done for war criminals and those who command them. It was for some atrocities in the Balkans in the 1990s, including Srebrenica. But, until then, what we have at our disposal are more aid, including to refugees, more weapons and stronger sanctions. Bevan Shields sends an exclusive newsletter to subscribers each week. Sign up to receive his note from the editor. Thank you for reading the Herald. This article is complimentary. Register or log in now to read more articles and unlock extra benefits. No payment required. Read more. Continue with Google, continue with Apple, or email address continue by continuing. You agree to your personal information being collected under our privacy policy and accept our terms of use. Hide content.